responding to more of your assumptions. I'm Chris. This is Yellow Productions. I do travel guides that are fun, informative, and entertaining. And in this 2020 quarantine edition, I'll be responding to the assumptions that you all provided on my YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram posts. Yesterday was part 1. Today is part 2. And we have a special guest starting these this week that wants to join in here at the beginning, and particularly because she is wearing yellow. It is our little explorer right here in a yellow onesie, and apparently she wants to look at me and not look at the camera. Here, maybe you'll look at the camera if I'm by the camera. Maybe over here, something like that. Right there. There you go. It's your screen time. Look at that. Oh, all right. That's our little explorer's screen time, starting with some cuteness, I figure, on this live stream. All right. Oh, she did not want to get off camera. All right, so let's go ahead and pick up where we left off from yesterday. And where we left off from yesterday was we left off on assumption number 14. Bonkers About Alice said, I assumed YouTube was your full-time job. And, I think this is an assumption that many people make, and YouTube is definitely not my full-time job. My background is in computer science. I have a bachelor's and master's in computer science from San Diego State University, and so my full-time job is in the software industry working on computer software stuff, and this is definitely my then full-time, very involved hobby, but I don't make a lot of my income from YouTube. The ad revenue that I do make does go to cover things like hosting costs, the captions that I put in, the camera equipment. Actually, it all adds up and can be pretty expensive. So people say, Chris, when can you make this a full-time job? I don't know, but I probably need a lot more views and subscribers than I have right now, but actually I also really enjoy computer stuff as well, and so I enjoy doing both of them. All right, I need to pull up this because there's many of you that are in the live chat, and so I'm curious what you guys think, what your questions are as we go through these assumptions. Looking forward to hanging out with y'all. If you are watching this in the archive, we'll make sure you've clicked the bell to turn on notifications so you get notified of these future live streams that I'm doing while many of us are quarantined at home. And comments on the Traveling Princess Travel Man podcast. Ben from Australia says she's beautiful. Thank you very much, Ben. I appreciate it. Annie says she's cute. And Evan's World says she's cute. My niceness is not that cute. I'm not sure who your niceness is, but I appreciate it. And Scottman895 is on. Good evening, Chris. I still need to watch back the other stream of assumptions, but I'm ready to watch this one. Well, thank you for joining in today. And by the way, if you want to catch yesterday's assumptions video, I have a link in the description of this one or in the pinned comment where you can check that out after you watch this video. And I hope this time works out better for all of you East Coasters, including you, Scott. And then Ben from Australia, Travel Man Podcast, I'm glad to see it worked out for you as well, and you could join in. All right, let's go on to the next assumption. Honestly, Bridget says, I assumed you were single originally. And obviously we know the answer to that assumption, definitely not single. I mean, actually, originally I was single. At the beginning of time, when I was born, I was single. So originally I was single. That's correct. Today, happily married, OC Girl and I, we have been married for just over 10 years. We have one daughter and we have one pet rabbit. That is our family. Philip's Family Vlogs assumes that you're fun to hang out with. I like to think so. I like to be fun. Am I the life of the party? Maybe. Yesterday we had a great chat about whether I'm extroverted or introverted, and I can be kind of an introvert where I need my recharge time, but if I'm hanging out or if I'm partying, I do like to be fun, as long as you don't consider fun the person who has a lot to drink, because I don't really love drinking a lot, and in that case then maybe I'm not that much fun. As long as it's not getting wasted on alcohol, then I'm fun. If it's getting wasted on something like double cheeseburgers from In-N-Out Burger, then I am definitely your man. Megan Morris gives us an assumption from the live stream. Megan says, I assume you've never traveled on a budget airline. I've traveled on a few budget airlines. I mean, Southwest Airlines isn't really budget anymore. I travel on Southwest actually quite a bit. I've also traveled on Norwegian, which is a budget airline, intra-Europe. And we also traveled on, there's like a Spanish budget airline. I have not enjoyed my experiences particularly on that Spanish airline. That was awful. It was one of those, like, the flights were cheap. We were flying from Granada to Barcelona. The flight was delayed. They didn't tell us why. There wasn't any updates. They ended up putting us on a bus, and taking us out of a different airport. The flight was delayed like 7 hours. I mean, we should have just got a rental car and driven. But, you get what you pay for. The flights were cheap. Lee says, "Hi, Chris. I'm joining you from Minnesota." Thanks for joining in, Lee. And by the way, I always love when people announce where they're from when they're joining in. So thank you very much for announcing where you're from. CJ asks if I'm into baseball. I'm not really a big sports fan. Like, sports that I like are more like solo sports, things like biking, surfing. Like, if I watch sports, I really enjoy watching table tennis. I just think it's a lot of fun. Not that I enjoy competitive table tennis, but it is kind of fun when there's like table tennis in the Olympics and those sorts of things. Ricky says, "Chris, cute little princess. I assume you and OC Girl are having a grandparent help you with little princess right now." Absolutely. OC Girl's mom is helping us with our little princess, and she has been a huge help. Let's see. David asks, "How do you get all the time off work for your travel videos? I was under the impression U.S. companies weren't generous with holidays." So in the U.S., in general, there are like 14 holiday days, which are just like the holidays. And then where I work, I get a day off every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, I accrue a day off that I can take, which then works out to be 26 days of vacation days that I can take. So that works out to be, about 5 weeks, which is pretty nice. I have also worked for the place I've worked for 15 years, which is what gets me up into that bracket of being able to get that much time off. So 5 weeks a year, we take a couple big trips, a couple small trips. And while I am publishing travel content all throughout the year, we're not traveling all the time. Like from our Fukushima trip, I will be publishing videos for 3 months probably off of the 5 days in Fukushima we spent and the 3 days in Tokyo. On that trip, I tried to shoot something like, make sure for every day we're there, I got at least 2 to 3 videos that I could edit, and at 1 video a week on Fridays. Well, you can see how that works out so that I've got it saved up for our next trip. And by the way, the actual longest part of making these videos is not the travel and shooting them there. It actually takes longer and more time to edit the videos than it does to actually shoot the videos. Gareth Ross asks, if they still stamped passports, how many stamps would you have now? Probably not that many. I mean, we go to a lot of places, but we don't do a lot of these things like, crazy this country for a day and this country for a day. When we take our trips, we like to do, Singapore for a week, Japan for 2 weeks, UK for a week. So we kind of like to dive deeper into a destination. I think the total number of countries, at least that I've been to when I did the math, was something like 27 or 28. CJ wants to know where I hide my millions. And I guess if I told you, they wouldn't be hidden, would they? King, with a really long name, asks if I ever meet subscribers. I've never done a meet up, but when I'm out and about, absolutely. And sometimes people come to Southern California, and I've met them when they come here, or I've met people when I've traveled places. That was actually how I got to know Ben from the Travel Man podcast. We hooked up in Australia, did a couple videos together, recorded some podcasts. Martin says, when do you normally like to travel? Wife and I do summer since she's a teacher. We like to travel in shoulder season, so we like to travel in spring or fall because we find that places are less busy, the rates are cheaper, and obviously for that perspective, all the teachers and everybody has off from school. So we also think that when our little traveling princess is bigger and she's in school, we'll probably be the parents that pull her out for a couple weeks to go on travel in spring or fall so that we don't have to travel in the summer when it's busy and when it's hot and humid, right? Alex wants to know if I'm coming back to Singapore anytime soon. I would love to. I don't have any current plans to come back to Singapore, but I have no plans to go anywhere, so I'd love to go back there. Singapore is one of my favorite destinations. I love the food there. Lee asks if there's any chance you could visit Minnesota. There's always a chance. Again, nothing planned right now, but it is just as likely as anywhere else. Paul asks if I have to fly, travel for work. Yes, my work does require me to go places and travel as well. I'd say probably half the travel I do is for work, and half the travel I do is for Yellow Productions. Half the travel I do for work you probably don't see because I'm out working, and so I don't have that much time to make videos. The man inside your server asks, what's your favorite place to go? Japan, if I have to pick one country. April says 27 countries. I've only been to one, the one I live in, USA. Hey, you got plenty of time to go to more countries once the travel ban gets lifted and we can go to places. All right. Okay, next assumption. Michael says, I assume that you are a teacher. I guess we just talked about what I do, and so I'm not a teacher, but I like to teach people. Actually, one of the things I like to do on YouTube, and part of why I started this channel, I guess, was teaching about travel, right? Say, hey, you want to get cheap flights, you want to get good deals on hotels, you want to go to Tokyo, what's important? And a lot of it is teaching, right? They're informational videos, so you could say I'm a teacher in a way. Set C also assumes this was my full-time gig until he watched one of my previous live streams where I clearly talked that I wasn't. I also assumed you were a single guy roaming the world, a single guy with a panda. By the way, sometimes people say who don't understand me all that well are like, why do you have that really girlish voice with that panda? And if you haven't figured out, that's OC Girl voicing the panda. That's OC Girl voicing Topher when we travel. So that's why Topher has a girlish voice. And then Set C says you put together great quality content. I don't know how you have time, especially with a baby. That's amazing. It's just being very diligent in time management, parceling out, okay, do this now, feeding time now, nap time now, editing time now, live stream time now, work time now. So, whoop. Amber says, I assume you like all food types. Can you name your top 3 favorite foods? Specific names and 3 you avoid. Specific names like Ben, Jim, Bob. I don't usually name my foods, but like a joke, when OC Girl asks me what I want to eat, I usually rattle off and say hamburger, pizza, Mexican. I will take anything in those categories anytime, any day of the week. Hamburger, pizza, Mexican. And I just put Mexican all in its own category. But when I say Mexican, I'm probably meaning like Southern California taco shop Mexican. Obviously, there's a lot of Mexican food. I've not found any Mexican food that I don't like. What are the top 3 that I avoid? It used to be Korean food, but actually I've taken a fondness for Korean food. I don't know. Avoid foods. I don't like mustard, and I don't like horseradish, and I don't really like wasabi. So those are probably all in the same category. Those are things that I would avoid. Amber also says, if you had to pick an animal, what would you be and why? I would be a giraffe because I love their long necks. What's the weirdest nickname you ever had? When I was in high school, some people that went to that high school, it's like my first day there, they asked me what my name was. I said it was Chris. They said, you look more like a Fred. We're going to call you Fred. So my nickname in high school was Fred. My other weird nickname in one of the projects that I worked on at work, they found out that I have pancakes every day for breakfast, and some of the people were calling me Pancakes as a nickname. If you had a time machine, would you go back in time or visit the future? I would visit the future. I think it would be cool to see all the new technology and whether YouTube is still there in the future. And I do not consider myself superstitious. Great questions, Amber. All right, let's go to some of the live stream questions and comments. Aaron's joined in and says Grandpa Richard is there, even though his name is somewhere else. Well, thank you for coming in, Aaron. Jake asked if I ever do cruises. We don't love cruises because OC Girl gets seasick. Kathy said she loved the video on Melbourne, Australia. Good watching her own city. Awesome. Thanks, Kathy. Megan asks, what's the least visited country you've been to? Boy, least visited country. Small country. So maybe like Monaco? It's a tiny little country. So that's probably the least visited because it's small. Matt, am I a sales engineer or dev? My background is definitely in development, but I would say I am more of a manager at this point. Travelman Podcast, Ben says I could teach people for sure. Very intellectual guy. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate it. Eat Van City asks if In-N-Out Burger and Shake Shack were the same price and available everywhere, would you still like In-N-Out more? Ooh, that's tough. I like the cleanliness at In-N-Out, which Shake Shack isn't quite as clean. There's still some things I like about In-N-Out. If they were the same price everywhere, I would probably alternate between the two. CJ wants to know when I'm coming to Canada. I don't know, but there's definitely a lot of places I need to come in Canada. We need to explore Canada more. Utai says, I still share your videos with the Travel Channel, hoping they'll give you a show, but nothing but haunted BS now. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the kind words over to the Travel Channel. Mick asks if I ever find the time you spend recording videos for YouTube interferes with your actual enjoyment of a trip. I try not to let it. And when we're on our trips, we generally try to kind of like section out and be like, okay, this day we're going to go here, here, and here, record these things. But then after that, we're going to turn off the cameras, or we're going to do this, or we're running out of time. OC will be like, do you want to record this food? And I'll be like, no, I think I just want to eat this because I think I've got enough content for that video. So we try not to let it do that. And actually, sometimes recording the videos gives us a sense of purpose to be like, we need to go here. We need to see this. And I record, well, I put the videos up on the YouTube channel. OC Girl records them because she's running camera. She also blogs about things, so she takes a lot of pictures. So when we read things and say like this walk or this tour takes an hour, we typically triple it because it takes us much longer to do it because we're always stopping either to record some video or to take pictures. Alex says I'm thirsty. I am thirsty. What am I drinking? I'm drinking some iced tea in a DEF CON mug. All right. Pi asks if YouTube is my job. That was the first question I answered. So check out the archive of this video once the live stream is done, because I spent about 3 minutes or 5 minutes talking about it at the beginning. Fiorella asks, do you and OC Girl ever make your own pizza dough? We have never made our own pizza dough. Should we? Wu Tai wants to know, what's the most exotic location you've ever been to? Exotic. Like, when I think of exotic, I think of, like, island paradises or something. So I think of, like, Hawaii, Maui, Kauai. We've never done, you know, any places that are, like, what I'll call super sketchy. You know, we've never been to, like, any war zones, any of that sort of stuff. I think one of the most interesting places we went to was when we were in Korea, and we spent a night at a Korean temple for a temple stay. That was an interesting experience. James wants to know my favorite programming languages are Java and Perl. April wants to know, what are the coldest and hottest places you visited? Hottest, Bangkok, Thailand, the hottest city on average in the world. Coldest, Fukushima, Japan, where we just were when we were in the town of Uichijuku. It was -9 degrees Celsius. It was really quite cold. Susie wants to know, what's my favorite beach in California? It is Laguna Beach in California, between Los Angeles and San Diego. Benjamin says, my family and I enjoyed your videos on Honolulu. We just rescheduled our trip to Disneyland to August. Yes, I think things will be up in August. That's my crystal ball. But hard to say. John wants to know if the pandemic will influence what exotic locations I want to visit in the future. We like first world places, so I mean, we'll see how the pandemic pans out, but yeah, we'll probably be picking places to go to that aren't super infected, assuming that if there's some countries or locations that are this is the infected place and this is not, we might pick some of the not places like national parks or Wyoming. Dennis wants to know what are my thoughts on Panda from the 1982 Shirt Tales Topher Connection. I have no idea what Panda is. I will have to look that up. 7Z says it's hard to be a full-time YouTuber. It is. I know some full-time YouTubers, and it's tough. It's tough. There's a lot of hustling. Tyler says he never got a notification that you went live. Well, I don't know, boy. Talk to YouTube about that. Click that bell 3 more times or something. Let's see. Wutai says, oh, iced tea. I thought Sapporo beer. Not Sapporo beer, but actually there was a beer we were drinking last night, which was like a lychee beer. I want to show you this beer, and I'll show you this beer in just a second. Brooklyn NG asks, what's our favorite city to visit in Japan? Tokyo is a popular place that we go to, but we really enjoyed our trip to Kyushu, not one city, but the southern island region. By the way, this is really interesting beer here. This is Taiwan beer, lychee flavor, sweet touch fruit lychee. We were drinking this last night for dinner. It didn't really have a beer taste. It had much more of that fruity taste, which was kind of cool. So you can check this out if you want to experience a taste of Taiwan. All right. Let's go back to some. Assumptions. Okay. So all those assumptions were from the YouTube post that I made. Now I also posted on Instagram. So these are the assumptions from Instagram. And after the Instagram assumptions, we'll get to the Facebook assumption. Maybe if we get through them in this live stream, maybe the Facebook assumptions will be for another live stream next week. So first one here, Tracy Ray on Instagram said, Chris, you seem like the kind of person who can go to any country and become a local, the best kind of traveler. Well, thank you, Tracy. I'll take that. That's definitely a compliment, and I think so. I like to travel like a local. I mean, there's interesting conversation about this, and there are people who will say things like, well, "I don't want to go there because it's too touristy." I like touristy things, but because they're touristy because they're popular. But I don't like to go on tour bus trips and super organized trips. You know, when I talk to people who've been to Rome, I always ask them, did you take the subway? And I feel like the mark of whether you've really experienced a destination is whether you've taken the public transportation or not. And it's amazing how many people have been to Rome but never taken the subway. And so we absolutely do like to do things that the locals do there to actually experience what life is like in a place. Let's go to some more comments on the live stream. Matt asks if I've spent much time in Northern California. We like San Francisco, so we've spent a fair bit of time around the Bay Area. San Francisco, Santa Cruz, San Jose, Napa, that sort of stuff. Not much north of there other than Lake Tahoe. April wants to know if we've been to every Disney park throughout the world. We have. I've been to the Disney parks in California, Florida, and in Tokyo. That's it. We've not been to the ones in Paris or Shanghai or Hong Kong. Manny's joining in from Long Island. Welcome, Manny. Thanks for joining in. I should say, how you doing? How you doing? How you do? You talking to me? You talking to me? All right, I got a shirt that says "How you doing?" that I got in New York. So, MT asks if I've been to Sedona. I have not been to Sedona, but OC Girl's been to Sedona, and she really enjoyed Sedona. It's on our list to go back to. Let's see. And Kathy says, I can hear OC Girl in the kitchen. Is she cooking dinner? We are having some curry and I think some salmon for dinner tonight, just right after this live stream. Wu Tai 1 says, full-time YouTuber's been tough. Made the most in my life and also felt the sting of the YouTube machine more than once. Today is I've had better. I believe it, Wu Tai. Yeah, the views are really down, and the AdSense revenue, and I'll say I definitely don't make my living off of it, but it's down way more than the views are down. So it's those numbers are really quite pitiful. Because every company is just kind of like bringing back in and not wanting to put their ad money out there. So Gene says, where do you buy your flavored beer? That particular beer we bought at 99 Ranch Supermarket. It's a chain of like Asian supermarkets in the U.S. And there's always a great debate. Is it 99 Ranch or Ranch 99? It is definitely 99 Ranch. Wu Tai says, nice lychee beer. Larry says, Chris, do you like Thai tea? I do like Thai tea. I like the sweetness of it. I like the strongness of it, and I like in Thailand getting it in a bag. That's the real way to get Thai tea is in a bag. Lee says he's been to Vegas, really enjoyed my travel guides. Thank you, Lee, for the kind words. I appreciate it. Abel asks if we have a Disney annual pass, and if so, did we receive a refund? We used to have Disney annual passes. We've had Disney annual passes for nearly 10 years, I think. We just let them lapse due to the birth of our daughter. We figured we won't be going there for at least a couple years until she's a little bit bigger. So our passes lapsed before this. 7 wants to know how I stay young being a software engineer. Because I spend a lot of time traveling too and enjoying life. That's what I like to think. Brooklyn NCG says, do I think the USA will adopt face mask culture similar to Asia after the pandemic is over? I don't think our face mask culture here will ever be like Japan's, for example. I think we will start to see more face masks in the future, even once the pandemic is done, than we have in the past. Wu Tai comments on my Rome comment. Rome's amazing. The trains are dodgy, but so lovely. Someone puked in the seat behind us, and my wife was revolted. Yeah, the subway, our memory of the subway was seeing subway trains in Rome that everything was graffitied. And when I say everything was graffitied, I mean like everything. The doors, the windows, the roofs, everything was graffitied. AJ wants to know if I ever give any love to the pandas of the trash variety. There's apparently a reference I don't understand. What is a panda of the trash variety? Gene wants to know any plans for Shanghai Disneyland. Probably not in the immediate future, especially with the coronavirus. So, Keith says I should do a video on the Redwood Forest. We did. In our Santa Cruz video, we actually have a video going through the Redwood Forests above Santa Cruz. Matt says, I'm from San Jose, Chris. If you're ever around here, I know all the great food. Highly recommend Northern California, too. Shasta is great. Thanks, Matt. I'll let you know if we're ever in San Jose and have some free time. Kay Clark says, where in Orange County is OC Girl from? I am also an OC Girl. So she picked that name because when she arrived in Orange County to go to school, she went to UC Irvine. So you could say that is where she was from. She, in that case, moved from the rainbow state of Hawaii, and before that, Taiwan. I'm glad MP liked my how you doing comment. All right, thank you very much. Dennis wants to know, why do you think the 5 worst cheap hotels in Vegas video was so successful versus all other videos? Now, I don't want to say that all my other videos weren't successful, but my most successful video has been my 5 worst cheap hotels on the Las Vegas Strip. If you have not seen it, you're really missing out because there's a couple million views on that video by now. And I think that video is so successful because people want to watch that video that aren't traveling. So most of my other videos, people, when they're going to a destination, say New York City, they're like, oh, has Yellow Productions made videos about New York City? And then they look that up. Now, that one, the 5 Worst Cheap Hotels in Vegas, so many people have been to Vegas, so many people have heard of Vegas, so many people, like, it's just in people's minds, and it has this thumbnail of me there in front of a really bad hotel, given this look like, and so it makes people want to click on it and want to know what those worst cheap hotels are. So that's why I think that video is more successful than the others. Chris, why haven't you done more videos like that? You know, it's hard. It's hard to recreate the Mona Lisa, right? I don't actually think that that video is like the Mona Lisa, but it's been a great video. Scottman hits that data point that his AdSense has gone down significantly too in the past month. It's great to see. It's not just mine, so thank you for that data point. April says, you would think you'd get more views on YouTube since everyone is home and probably bored. So more people on the live streams, definitely, which is why I'm doing these daily for you all. So thank you all for being here, hanging out with 145 of you fellow explorers at the moment. But there are a lot less people researching travel, which is where at least a lot of my views come from, at least as an aggregate over the channel. All right, and I think that answers Bridget's question too. The Uniplex asked if we've watched The Tiger King. We have not watched The Tiger King. Should we watch The Tiger King? Terry asks, what's your favorite city area in Japan that you just crave to go back to? I think I answered that before with Kyushu. It said we really enjoyed that. That's one place we want to go back to. We really enjoyed our trip to Fukushima. Long time ago, we were in Hokkaido in the north. That's probably a place for us to go back to because we haven't been there for a while. We always enjoy exploring the regions of Japan we haven't been to. Next trip, we might check out the central region of Japan, Aichi Prefecture around Nagoya. Toyota is from there, so I think it'd be neat to check out like the Toyota factory and things like that. Lee wants to know if our Disney passes are good for all the parks worldwide. Ours are not. Ours are just good for Disneyland. I don't think there's any that are good for all of them. You can buy like ones that are good for both of the parks in the U.S. and California and Florida. Yeah. Ben has to leave because he has to get a haircut, so maybe I'll see you later. All right. And we're going to be recording a podcast together. So, yes, I will talk to you Saturday morning, your time. All right. Let's go back to some more of the assumptions submitted on Instagram. Teddy Lee says, why would you assume we make assumptions about you? That's funny. I know people make assumptions about me. Not that I'm arrogant about myself, but also because I'm doing this live stream because somebody last week said, Chris, you should do a 2020 edition of the assumptions video. So I guess I assumed from their inference that I should make one that people would be interested in the responses to the assumptions. And I love the dialogue, and I love hearing what people think about some of those things. Fee Mode 85 assumes that I wasn't as adventurous about food before meeting OC Girl. And by the way, if you ever want to follow her on Instagram, that's her Instagram handle at ocgirl.notebook. These are Instagram posts, so cut and paste out of Instagram. I was definitely not as adventurous about food before OC Girl. Big joke on our second date. We went to a Korean restaurant, and it was my first time at a Korean restaurant, and OC Girl ordered tteokbokki. And for those of you who are familiar with tteokbokki, or who are unfamiliar with tteokbokki, it is rice cakes in like a really spicy red sauce. And for someone at that time who'd never had Korean food before, I thought I was about ready to die eating this. And I was like, I don't know after this if this is what we're going to eat all the time. And the kimchi, I'm like, what is this? This sour, vile product. And I hated kimchi. And now we have this running gag, which OC Girl always wants me to say that I like kimchi, which I didn't just say it right now. That's what she wants me to say, and I refuse to say it. But when we're at a restaurant, I will eat the most kimchi between the two of us. I'll be the one who asks for more. So I've definitely taken an appreciation to kimchi. And April says raccoon is a trash panda. All right, well, I didn't know that, so thank you for sharing that, April. April wants to know how we met. We actually started working at the same company like just about 15 years ago, within a couple weeks of each other. No, was that 17 years ago? 17 years ago. That was how we met. We worked together. Jean wants to know, where's our little explorer? She's a cutie. She was here earlier, so you missed her. I would say check out the archive and see her right there. Alex wants to know, will I be coming to Singapore after the pandemic? I hope sometime too. Drew wants to know if I'll be letting the locks flow since the barbers are closed. I cut my hair using the Flowbee vacuum hair cutting device, so I just cut it at home. I'm totally going to make a video about how to cut your hair in a pandemic using the Flowbee. Matt assumes I get a lot of PTO from my office job. I talked about just how much I get earlier in the live stream, so you can check that out in the archive. Larry wants to know if OC Girl has her own YouTube channel. She does not. She prefers to be behind the video camera. She does have her own Instagram page that I mentioned earlier. Shay wants to know how and why I chose the yellow color. It's a long story, and I have a video titled Yellow Productions FAQ, Frequently Asked Questions, where I go into that in detail. And I think there's someone on the live stream, Alex. I think he's counting how many times I drink. And people say, Chris, you must be thirsty. You know, if you were talking for 45 minutes straight, you would be thirsty too. So the color yellow, the very short version of the story was when I was 16, I drove a silver Honda Accord. I got into an accident with a drunk driver. The car was totaled. I had the car fixed. I need to get it repainted. When I went to the paint shop to get the car repainted, I didn't know what color to paint it. When I was at the paint shop, I looked up at the paint board and I said, what is a color that somebody will see me in, having just got into an accident with a drunk driver? And I looked up there and I saw the color yellow. I made my car yellow, and then it just all kind of went from there, because another nickname people gave me was Yellow, because I always drove a yellow car. Brick Dangerface says, is there any place that you think no one should visit? Wuhan, China, right now is probably a place that I was on. I would say it should be on most people's no-go list right now, particularly whatever wet market all this yucky stuff came from. All right, so it's time in the live stream. Every live stream, I always give away a Yellow Productions t-shirt, and today I'll be giving away one of these fancy Yellow Productions Crew t-shirts. So, to get your own Yellow Productions Crew t-shirt, you have to answer my question correctly. And my question to you today, and all of my live stream videos this week, is going to be based on posts on my Instagram or Facebook pages. So, the question today will be on something I posted on my Instagram page. I posted a picture today. What did I post a picture of today? What was in the picture today? I'm holding something in my hand. I've got my yellow watch, and there's something right here. What was I holding in the picture I posted today? If you can answer that question, what I was holding in the picture I posted to Instagram, you will win a Yellow Productions Crew t-shirt shipped anywhere in the world. And if you don't get to win one, well, you got more chances I do other live streams, or if you want to buy one, you can check out my Etsy shop, links in the description below. You can also get the Yellow Productions Crew onesie if you've got a little explorer in your family. Tony guessed a panda, but he was wrong. Ricky Ricky, the record winner, and he wants to get in on these new Yellow Productions Crew shirts because the other shirts that he's won in the past were not Yellow Productions Crew shirts. He says, lemons for sure. Lemons right there. This is a bunch of lemons from our lemon tree. Take a look at that. And by the way, Kathy says, I don't use Instagram. Kathy, you can go to my Instagram page on their website. You actually don't need to use the Instagram app to browse the pictures. So you can just, if in the description of my video there's an Instagram link, just click that and you can see it. So if you want to prepare before the next live stream to see what I'm talking about, then you can do it that way too if you don't use the app. All right, I'm going to field about 5 more minutes of questions here in question and answer time, and then the rest of the assumptions that I didn't get to today, I'm not ignoring them. I will get to your assumptions in future live casts later this week. Ethan City asks if I've ever had a bad experience in Japan. No, I don't think so. I think we've really enjoyed everything in Japan, so I can't think of any of those things. MP asks, my current car is yellow. It is yellow. Carol asks, do you drive rental cars in the countries? If so, which country has the scariest driving conditions? I've always found the LA freeway super frightening. Naples, Italy was the scariest. Yes, we often rent cars in the countries we travel to. If you search for Yellow Productions, Naples, Italy, you'll see a video I did of a left turn yield intersection was there. It was crazy. And Wu Tai says his channel logo is a bright yellow lemon. Hey, that's awesome. So you would like that picture, or you should like that picture I posted on Instagram. Do you like the MacGyver TV show? If not, why did you name your bunny MacGyver? Oh, Seagirl loves the MacGyver TV show. I also like it too. Eat Fan City asks if I've ever drank apple sidra. I have never drank apple sidra. Let's see. Dennis thinks I should do a video about the top 5 best worst smelling hotels on the Las Vegas Strip. That's interesting. Jam says if I were the last man on earth, where would you live? Ooh, I'd need to live someplace that has a lot of places I could farm well. So what's a good farming place? Maybe Hawaii grows a lot of good fruit. Time for a Kiss says, what celebrity do people say you look like? In the past, people said I used to look like Doogie Howser or Fred Savage. There's another actor that people say that I can't remember. David wants to know, what's the furthest I've traveled from home? I'm from the UK and visited Maui. It's a long way. The longest flight I've ever taken was LAX to Singapore. LAX to Australia is a pretty long flight, too. Let's see. Cherry says, would love to see a day in the life of you at home. All right, I'll consider doing one of those. Thank you for the trip. And Travis wants to know if I can bring that back, the pa-pa-pa-pa-pa-pa-pa-pa-pa-pa-pa. I'll bring that back in one of the live streams so you can play it. And the last question for the video today is, how many pandas do you own? Well, before Topher's disappearance in London, we probably owned 5 pandas, 10 pandas, something like that. But through the generosity of many of you fellow explorers, we got 20 pandas roughly in the mail, so now probably 30 pandas. All right, well, with that, I won't say goodbye because I'm going to see you in the next live stream. Do you want to know when it is? Well, follow me on Facebook. Follow the Yellow Productions community page. Click to subscribe. Turn on the bell. Follow me on Twitter, and you'll never miss a future live stream. They will be later this week, sometime between 5 and 9 p.m. Los Angeles time. Tomorrow's, which is Wednesday, is probably going to be the earlier time, like around 5 o'clock Los Angeles time, but stay tuned for the exact time. All right, keep on traveling.